trust me, I know how to do my job.
If I had like 5 years on, I'd go.
Yeah, I know you know how to do your job. I have the utmost faith in you.
I still don't know why I won't be allowed to be on camera.
You're on camera
They don't
all
want
the
the camera to
time.
break.
Huh?
They don't want the camera to break. Have you looked at yourself?
We don't talk about the glisten coming off your forehead, so leave me alone.
Hey. You got a lot of nerve there, man.
Sounds like someone's getting detailed a lot.
Can't detail medics.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah, we get detailed to the ambulance.
Untouchable.
Yeah.
Untouchable.
And welcome to the Washdown podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Green. With me, co-host Chris Nelson, our producer, James Moran. And today we are talking to Battalion Chief, Greg Taylor. And Greg, you got 31 and a half years on in the fire service. Why don't we just start by how you got into it?
Well, my dad was on the fire department, and all of our friends were on the job, and I knew a lot of the kids, as I say now. And then we all kind of, after we got on, we all came up together, but it was just something I always wanted to do. And when I was in the Coast Guard, that was my original rate, was firefighting. So I got a little taste of that before I came on the fire department. And then after that, it was just, I was hooked.
So how different is it? I mean, I know a little bit from talking to my dad because he worked on offshore oil rigs and had to go through, that fire training type stuff. But with the Coast Guard fighting fire on a ship, I mean, that is very different than fighting a structure fire.
It's compartmentalized. So, and it's been so long since I got out. But it was.
I heard they put motors in the boats now since he got out.
Yeah, right.
This could be interesting. Hey, can I come ride in the buggy next day? I just want to see what happens.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome.
I just want to be an observer.
No, I mean, the basic premise is the same. Put water on the fire, but just a little bit different tactics as far as compartmentalize and the level of it. And you could kind of attribute it to a high-rise fire, whether it be up or down,
Okay.
below deck or above deck or whatever.
Okay. So, as I kind of mentioned before, you're a battalion chief, so you're in a leadership position with our department, which means you've risen through the ranks of firefighter to driver to captain to battalion chief now. What are some of the things that you've been able to kind of latch onto as far as leadership and being able to, motivate crews or any type of different leadership styles or whatever that have worked for you?
The biggest thing, leadership style, is respect. Give everybody respect. Treat everyone fairly. And if you're not doing that, guys are not going to respect you. You're not going to earn the respect. And respect is earned. It's not given. Doesn't matter who you are. And it all starts really on our job at the driver level. When you're riding out, the driver is kind of an interim person between the firefighters and the captain. And there's a lot that can be done there as far as kind of shaping the guys and gals. As far as, what needs to be done, and kind of like your kids, if you see trash, pick it up. If there's a mess, clean it up. If there's this, do it. If you see something that needs to be done, do it. Don't just assume someone else is going to do it. Don't leave something for the next shift. And that kind of rolls over into the driver riding out as captain. And there's something that gets lost there when guys don't get to be in that role for a long time. And then as captain, it's a whole different kind of ball of wax than as a firefighter and a driver. and you really can't explain it very well unless you're in those roles. And you have to learn your leadership style, whether it's, you know, the book X, Y, or Z. You'll kind of fall in there somewhere.
Greg, you've been in leadership for a while now in our job, and our department has evolved. Not only our department, but just society and some of the people we're hiring. How have you adapted your leadership style throughout the evolution of the job over the last several years to stay current and stay respected?
Again, it goes back to the respect. And I never expect someone to do something that I wouldn't do, whether it's at a fire scene or cleaning toilets at the fire station. I have no problem doing anything. There are some that do, and that's not a good thing. The culture today, and it's nationwide, is, I don't want to say millennials. But
See, and that's the question I wanted to ask, but I couldn't frame it.
But I'm going to kind of go there. It's hard to motivate people just because it's a whole different mindset that they have these days. And I say they, not in a bad way. And we just got to kind of wrap our heads around how to motivate them. There's different styles, and when if you're in it for a while, you'll figure out, I motivate this guy this way, I motivate this guy this way, motivate this guy this way, and you kind of learn to play that, and you'll get things out of people that other people say, I didn't think you'd ever get anything out of them. Everybody's good at something. You just got to find them, find their little niche.
Set your people up for success.
Yes.
We had a major over a patrol division on a previous episode, and so kind of similar to your role, and he said he's in charge of none but responsible for all. And I've kind of noticed that in your role, like obviously in the way the structure's set up on our job, the captains are, you know, in charge, direct supervisors, but you're still responsible for us all, especially at a fire ground.
Right.
You know, so still having that responsibility in the evolution of just mental health since you've come on the job as well, has your leadership style changed, and how have you done to adapt with that as well?
Well, that's kind of could be a long story.
Go for it. We got all the time in the world.
So the mental health, you know, all the things that we do to cope with different scenes, different things we see, this and that, and we don't realize, most of the time we don't even realize we're doing it. Go kick back a bottle or check out some porn or drugs or even, you know, well, a side piece for some people. And I ended up going to Battle Within, and I basically went because I had a friend that was suicidal, and I was just looking for more tools in the toolbox for this person. And I found out so much about myself, so I was just abusing my body and this and that, and, you know, even shopping. That's another coping mechanism. And I went through this program. It's a 1-week-long program. And one of the things they teach you in there is communication. Most people just talk to be heard, or they listen to respond. They don't sit and take in what a person's saying and realize that everyone has their own differences. And when I went to that, I came back, and within 2 days, every one of my crews in the district I was in said, "You're different. You're changed." Even my family said, "You're weird." And I was like, well, I'm just trying to understand what you're saying instead of just listening to respond. And that has helped tremendously, because I can look at a person, I can see I can hear them talk, and I can pick up on things that I didn't before. Even with the younger generation, to put it a better way.
You damn use.
Yeah, Utes. But that's helped a lot into just kind of forming how I interact with people. And it's brought me this far. So, and I try to keep improving that, keep brushing up on that, but there's a lot of different styles, leadership styles. There's a lot of different. You can't be iron fist guy, and you can't be pushover guy. You got to kind of balance it out a little bit. But once you start listening to people and recognizing when somebody comes in, they're having a hard morning or something like that, or you can pick up if they're having a hard time at home. You know, you don't want to take them and cradle them and this and that, but you know, you can kind of work that around. Why don't you go do this today, or why don't you do this today? So
really, it's getting to know your people that you're kind of, responsible for, in charge of, however you want to frame that, and actually paying attention and not, just kind of going through the motions.
Right.
Of, hey, I'm in charge, so.
Right. If you're sitting there, you're working on your phone, or you're jacking around on your phone or anything, somebody comes to talk, put that phone down. Turn the TV off or mute it, Listen. And listen with your head and listen with your heart too.
Be present in the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and for me personally, I think that's huge, because it's kind of the same way that I've kind of thought about it of, and we've talked about it a little bit as far as mental health goes, of how, treatment plans are different. Like what works for one guy might not work for somebody else.
Right.
And you have to kind of tailor it. And it's kind of, I'm starting to realize that as far as being a leader on our job, it won't be too long, and I'll be in that role and have to, I don't want to say it like you have to tailor it to each individual on your crew, but you kind of do.
Sometimes you do.
You have to know how to.
Yeah, sometimes you do. You can have two captains in the house that are polar opposites, and you can. I don't want to get in trouble. You can get them to do anything, really. And even the older guys that have been on much longer than me, knock on wood, I can get them to do about anything, within reason.
Yeah. Well, I think some of that I think has to come down. Like you said, it's respect, and you've put in the work to earn that respect. So I think there's a level of trust that comes along with that of, okay, he's asking me to do this. He wouldn't ask me to do it if it wasn't important.
Right.
I, as an ambassador of the younger generation over here, but that's something I've noticed, and even in the conversations amongst ourselves in the fire service, on the police department, in the hospital ERs, like there just is that above and beyond respect. It's so much easier to A, respect, but B, just relate and understand when we know a task or something appointed to us has been done by the one that did the appointing. And it's simple, and there's a comfortability of even knowing we can come to you for advice or questions with said task because he's done it.
Right.
If even it's as simple as like, hey, which way do you go, clockwise or counterclockwise when you shot in the toilet? I did clockwise because this worked for me. That's huge for leaders that the younger generation look to now.
So let me pose a question to you.
Okay.
Say you have somebody that comes to you, firefighter, captain, whatever, and they, hey, I've got this idea of this new hose deployment or something like that. And, how do you go about that? Like, whenever somebody's trying to, I don't want to say reinvent the wheel, but they've came up with this new thing that they want to try.
Something they want to try that may be better.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Do you encourage that kind of?
absolutely. And we have our deal with the committees and all that.
Yeah.
But you can sometimes hose lays, things like that. You can try them. We've tried multiple different kinds of hose lays over the years, and the ones we use right now are pretty much the ones we've always used that work well for us.
Yeah. I was just using that as an example.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Well, I'm trying to think, but I'm a little bit restrained.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or even ways we set up the rigs or all sorts of different things.
Yeah, well, they're all supposed to be uniform now. But whatever works for that company works. So, but as far as our restraints on that, bringing new items, new equipment, and all that, we have a process that we have to do, and you know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just
Right.
curious, because like we talked about setting our people up for success, and I don't know, maybe I phrased the question the wrong way of, that particular thing, but like letting people, explore other options of different ways to do things. Like, I don't really have a good example right now, but
Education, searching, camera usage, you have to have everybody on board to know what everybody's doing.
right.
Because if you go in to search a house and somebody's got a fresh idea of doing something differently, you want everybody on board with that to know what's going on. Because if you don't, then bad things can happen.
Right. So there would be training process, but I guess my point is, do you encourage that kind of, is that something that should be?
To a degree,
Yeah.
when it, like, say for example, searching, I think that was something probably would need to be more committee level, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We've come up with a lot of different things, and a lot of things haven't taken off.
Yeah. Well,
Sure.
not every idea is a good one.
Well, so, and we did a citywide drill on this at one time, where very similar to the last, where the rescues would take the rope in,
Mhm.
and they'd take the rope bag in backwards, and out. Well, you've got a 2.5 inch line if you have a large warehouse, and it's the same method, the same idea, but you're using, if you've got something really big, might have 600-700 foot of 2.5. You've
Yeah.
got 4 or 5 guys back there with 1 to 2 sections on their shoulder, and everybody, the deal there. Everybody needs to stay on that line.
Yeah.
Greg, our job, just finished up a captain's promotional process. I'm sure lots of jobs around the area are. Both of these guys sitting here, are one will probably get promoted, one has the opportunity to. Going back to your captain's days, what advice would you give to new leaders on this job today?
So don't rush into a station and try to reinvent the wheel. So I did that at one station, and I was met with a lot of resistance. I was like, let's clean this place up. Let's do this. Let's do that. Kind of get a feel for what you have there, what's going on, and then work your way into it, whether it's a couple weeks, a couple months. I don't want to discourage you. I don't want you to go in and be disenfranchised. But you should be enthusiastic and excited to be there and wanting to work. But don't go in and say, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to make all these changes. I used to watch you guys. And you guys are terrible and blah, blah. Work from the ground up.
Yeah. Little things first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's seems to not be setting yourself up for success if you go
Correct.
in. I mean,
Yeah.
we've all heard those stories
Right.
of guys who come into stations and it's like, okay, we're changing everything. But really, does everything need to be changed? Yeah. So, yeah, no, I really agree with that one. So,
And learn from your mistakes. Learn from others' mistakes. And I always took what I thought were my best captains, which I worked for a lot of really great guys. They were really people. They were great firemen. And if you were to go ask anybody that knew them now, since you guys are so young, they would tell you those are great guys. That they were my mentors. And I've told them, the Mick Burns, the Mike Pusateris, Beetle Bailey, those guys. I worked around all those guys. I learned a ton from. I was a sponge around them. Do that, and everyone makes good decisions and everyone makes bad decisions. Learn from your bad ones. Learn from your good ones. So, and learn from their decisions. I've had some of those people say, well, we probably shouldn't have done it this way. We should have done it this way. Okay, well, that's in the back of my mind for next time.
yeah.
Take us and take our listeners into your mind, especially like on a fire ground.
You don't want to be in my mind.
Give us the PG version. But when it's in our job, there's death. Mistakes can lead to death of ourselves, of the people we're trying to help. When you're on a fire ground and you have multiple companies there, you're trying to achieve the same goal. Sometimes companies are on the same page, sometimes they aren't. It's your job to organize that. How do you take us in your mind and help us understand your thought process through those?
Number one,
events?
you have to remember the task at hand. You're there to put out the fire and rescue any people that are inside, and take care of your guys. Make sure they're safe. Their conditions are safe for them to still be there. I've had 4 fatalities in the last week and a half, and it was just nothing we could do. We found them, we brought them out, and one of them we did the cyanide kit on, and it was a bad scene, both of them. But I'm watching the progression of the fire and the extinguishment. But my main focus is to keep everyone there safe. And this is probably not good for me, but it eats at me if someone gets hurt, whether it's a twisted ankle or they fall off a ladder. I feel a lot of times, most of the time, I feel like that's my fault. In which, accidents happen, but predictable is preventable.
That is true. So being in that position of being overall command, I'm sure there are decisions that have to be made of risk versus reward. How do you go through that process?
You just got to weigh them out, and you got to make quick decisions too. You can't spend 15, 20 minutes saying, well, if we do it this way, this could happen, or this way, this could happen. You have to make a decision and stand by it. I've had fires where 2 rescues showed up at the same time, and I said, you be writ, you guys go in. Well, the one that I made writ, that was their first in district, and I was like, oh, sorry, won't happen again. So new guys get promoted. You have to be prepared to make any decision. So here's one thing, and I'll kind of build this up. We get a lot of floaters from outlying districts that come in, and the very first thing they ask is, when do I get to ride out as chief? And my DSO has a standard answer anymore that is basically no, but it's a flavorful way. You need to learn your job first. And I tell these guys, you got to be ready, and this was posed to me years ago. If you're going to be in that spot, you have to be ready if God forbid, to pull everyone out, if you can't find somebody in there, if the conditions are that bad, if the building's about ready to collapse, you have to be ready to pull your guys out if they can't find that person. And I know a lot of people that would not be able to make that decision. And when I posed that question to them that was posed to me years and years ago, they're like, I get it now. I see.
Yeah.
It's a big step.
Yeah.
And we laugh and we joke about it, but that's a decision that we could potentially have to make. And I hope no one ever has to. But it's there.
Well, I think it's probably fair to say that's probably the worst decision
Right.
any firefighter would have to
Absolutely.
make.
I would, yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. I would encourage other people who are newly promoted to, learn the job of captain first before you start worrying about being the chief.
Right.
So,
When you're, I mean, even the firefighters, when you're coming up, watch the older guys, watch the captains, watch the DSO, watch the chiefs, watch what they're doing. Don't just blindly see, and then don't blindly blame. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't watch that guy. Well, watch them, learn. You'll see what they're doing,
Yeah.
and then go ask them. Why did you do that? Or why did you do it this way and not this way?
Well, I think that kind of goes along with, in the military, it's learn the job of the guy in front of you and behind you.
Absolutely.
And so why don't we focus on that a little bit more with those kind of decisions? I mean, we kind of do it a little bit now, but it's not to maybe the extent that we probably should.
The only ones that I've really seen step up and do that really very well are rescue companies. And time and time again, I've seen them on scenes when that captain's off and both drivers were off, and everyone they know what to do. They step up and they know that role in the position they're in. And it's really pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's something we need to talk about bringing to everybody else.
Redundancy.
Yes, not a bad
I've
thing.
been kind of preaching that a little bit lately.
I was doing that last night to a new guy. Talking
Yeah.
about redundancy in the system and
Yeah.
knowing your job and the guy next to you and everybody else. Because if I know what the captain's doing, I know what the chief's doing, I'm just taking huge pieces of the puzzle off their plate. Because I can help with that too, as a firefighter. Or if
Yeah.
I'm driving or whatever role I'm in that day.
Well, yeah. Well, that's why I sat down with, the DSO in our former district and sat down and talked to him for almost an hour and a half one night of, I very potentially, when I get promoted, I could be, okay.
You could be
you're
that
gonna
first day.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I have no clue. What do you do? So, I'm trying to just cram all this knowledge into my head, in a very short time.
Right.
But I mean, that's something, and on our job, we don't have that opportunity to do that position before we get promoted.
Right.
It's not we can ride out that way. But, maybe that's something that, not saying ride out, but you should make that effort of, hey, I may be expected to do this job. Maybe I should learn what it is before it's just, hey, throw you off in the deep end and then there you go.
Right. It's a great spot to learn in, especially like our district, because we're so busy and we do everything. We do fires, wrecks, everything. And it's not just one every few months. It's almost daily. And that's a great spot for a young captain to be in. And like my DSO's off injured right now, so we've got the floater in the seat almost every day, except for next day.
Thank you.
That's been prearranged.
I hope you guys run some calls with us.
Greg, you talked about how kind of injuries of your people beneath you kind of eat you up.
I don't ever say people are beneath me, but I know what you're saying.
Those you are
But-
responsible for.
But those that I always say I work with someone. I never say that guy works for me or that guy works for me here. I always say I got to work with that guy, or I get to work with that guy.
How do you
to clear that up?
I'll remember that.
Except for you.
Yeah, except for
You're the exception to the rule. That's what he's
got
saying.
83 people in my district and one beneath me. But how do you? What's your thought process like? What's your coping mechanisms? How do you evaluate your decisions and learn from them in a healthy manner?
So I do. I'll go take a walk out. I go out to the lake at Jacomo, walk out there. I'll go walk my dog. We had a scene one time. We ended up at this particular intersection, and there was a presidential candidate. Actually, they had a big party, fundraising party across the street. This mom had I forget exactly what was going on. I can't remember if the kid was choking or what, but it was a baby younger than 6 months. And instead of calling an ambulance, she called a taxi. Well, the taxi driver finally pulled over at this intersection. We did CPR, and it was just, I had 2 young kids, and I was a 2-year-old kid because my oldest was 2 years old, or my youngest, I'm sorry. And that just affected me. You're all business at the scene. You keep on task. You do what you're doing, but sometimes you feel it start balling up inside. And I took the next day. I said, I'm taking the girls, and we went down to the exotic animal paradise and picked my dad up, took him down, and it was just refreshing, and it was revitalizing. There's things like that. You spend time with your family like that. Go take a walk. I try not to drink near as much as I did before, and I've learned even through that Battle Within program. I learned just to have a casual beer or two, or a casual whiskey or two. Before I'd go home for something like that, and I'd slam a bottle and things like that. But just try to have healthy outlets, exercise, and exercise can turn bad too if you just get completely obsessed to burn off your cares. But there's yoga. I've done yoga. I haven't done it in a while, and it shows, but it's really relaxing. But yeah, there's a lot of different methods I use. Especially if I end up working 3 or 4 or 5 days straight, then I need to unplug afterwards.
What do you do for the companies? What are things you look for through companies? You can identify maybe a pumper or a truck had a bad call. What are things you look for like in performance moving forward? Something you can identify to maybe pull that captain aside and address something so you don't lose your company.
I'll listen to the radio a lot. And I'll flip over to the TAC channels and listen to the call. I'll call the captain, check in on him, ask how the crew's doing. You can a lot of times see the not the attitude, but just kind of how everybody's portrayed afterwards. And we have the EAP and all of that, but there's other things. Talk to each other. That's how we got through a lot of things before all the new methods or new avenues that we have. We talk to each other in the kitchen. You guys don't do that anymore. Everybody goes to their cubicle and they'll turn their TV on or the games or whatnot. But talk to each other. A lot of times, that's all you have to do is talk it out.
Yeah, that's true. I will say that because, I just moved stations, and it was, for me, I've always been, I like single engine houses and all of that stuff, and it was totally different being where I'm at now with having, so many more people around and seeing, okay, well, everybody's pretty much just hanging out, interacting, and it was a very different, thing from a single engine house. Not that one's worse or better or whatever.
They're different.
It's just different.
They're different.
And I enjoyed it. I was like, okay, this is cool. And then, go and do my study time and then right back to it.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was kind of eye-opening for me, at least. So,
Your first day?
yeah,
Just one day?
yeah, just one day. That's all. Hey, might not be the sharpest tack in the box, but since I went through everything that I went through, I'm a little bit faster of a learner than I was before.
Well, everybody has good days and everybody have bad days.
Yeah.
You have to, and the ones that start out having a bad day, you just try to make their day better. We had a guy yesterday, he had a doctor's appointment first thing, and ended up, he was heading into work and hit a piece of concrete that fell off a trailer and blew his tire out. And I was like, well, we'll come get you. He was like, oh, thanks. So we went and got him, and hopefully we brighten his day up.
Yeah.
He's kind of a sourpuss anyway.
But I mean, Greg, you and I have actually had these talks on calls too. How many times have I just talked to you afterwards, or you've pulled me aside and seen, and I'm just blaming? It's
Yeah.
like the one last time I was like, dispatch is so damn stupid. And you're like, chill.
Or you'll hear me on the radio. Be nice. That's usually me. I don't know anyone else that does it. Yeah, you can tell when people are starting to get kind of amped up, and you can also tell when they're getting ready to spin out, and that's when you need to go sit down and talk with them. And there's a lot of guys that, in my position, they'll just, hey, go take care of your guys. And I'll go sit. I probably shouldn't say this, but off the record, I'll sit with the guy, and if they want to cry on my shoulder, I'll let them. I don't care.
So, how important, though, how important do you think that really is? Like, especially with the being able to create that bond.
Like an interpersonal skill.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's huge. I think it's highly important.
While managing rank and structure of a job, though.
Right.
yeah.
Like, where's that fine line in leadership to you?
Yeah. It phrased it a lot better than I did.
Well, I mean, it's real. There's really not. I have a gauge, but it's hard to explain because you can go here and be comforting and this and that, but you still have to keep that structure. Not really the rank structure. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, with me, I can't speak for anyone else on that, but to an extent, and I'll walk the ends of the earth for you, but if you're behind on your reports or this and that, I'm gonna get on you.
Well,
Yeah, I went there.
Yeah.
That's your warning.
I went there.
Do your report.
It's like my 9th warning.
Well, but I think that's a perfect illustration, though, of having that balance of, hey, yes, I'm the chief, I'm in charge, and these are the things that I expect of you, but this is also what I'm going to do for you.
Right.
And I'm invested in you, and I want to see you succeed. Just do this stuff.
I want to see everyone succeed.
Yeah.
I don't care what color, what creed, what sex, or any of that you are. I want to see everyone succeed.
That's how
I
my
really don't.
relationship with Greg is. It's like I get a text message. It's like, Greg Taylor. I'm like, so you're going to be a nasty gram or a question? I don't know. Let's gamble. Hey, looking at this part from a Jeep, blah, blah, or even a phone call. What do you think about this? Oh, I don't know. Okay, cool. We'll get your damn reports done. Okay, cool. How are we going there? You tricked me. Trojan horsed me.
And it works.
Expectations, man.
And it works.
Your job is reports. That's 90% of what a medic does is reports. Paperwork. Man, give us all bad names.
Hey, is what it is, man. But no, me personally, I think it's huge. And, like you talked about earlier with the whole respect and, it's earned and you give it. And, I think that's.
If you give it, you get it back tenfold.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and be willing to learn.
Yeah.
There's guys younger than you that'll teach you things. There's
100%.
most everybody younger than me that I learn something new try to learn something new every day. And so I learned a lot.
Like what not to do.
Well, I learned that too. I really enjoy what I do. And everybody asks me, when are you retiring? Well, I don't have a plan yet. I'm not planning on going.
Having fun.
Yeah, I'm still having fun.
Well,
Sometimes I get a little frustrated here and there, and just
Sorry.
it's mostly just administrative BS that we do. It's like, I got more of this. I got this. I got, sick leave slips that I need. And got to chase.
Stop looking at me.
Stop looking at me. Got to chase guys down. Well, they told me to look straight ahead.
see, setting him up for success.
Right. Setting him up for failure, though.
But yeah, for the most part, I'm 99% happy. And the 1% is just not even unhappy. It's just kind of,
Yeah.
We all have those parts of our jobs where you're just like, man, you just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I can handle that 1%, though.
Out of all the leading by examples, that's the biggest trait. Like, you can ask your guys to do this or to do that. You can still come to work happy. If your chief comes to work happy doing all the chief bullshit that a chief has to do, there's no reason for the people he serves with to not. That is the ultimate lead by example to me.
Thank you.
Have you found that that style, the lead by example, to be more effective than other?
By far.
Yeah.
I had one. I was co-captain with a guy, and he finally came to me. He goes, "I just don't understand your leadership style." He said, "You could tell them guys to kill me, even my own crew, and they'd line up." And I said, I told him, I said, "Well, it's all respect." And I said, you gotta play it out. You can't just act like you're their friend and then go over here and try to put the meat to them. I said, you got to respect them and be fair. And that's a huge thing too, is be fair. So I went to one station and as a captain, and I was like, why is this guy always sit behind the driver? He said he doesn't like to carry the bag, and he don't like taking details. And so I sat everybody down. I said, we're all taking details. I said, I'll be taking them over to drive the chief or to ride out or whatever. I said, everybody else is going to take details. Everybody's rotating around, and we're going to carry the bag and all this and that. And they were like, okay. Well, I had one say, okay, and the other two said, okay.
So there are times where strong leadership needs to be be put out there.
But you got to put your expectations out there. You can't just
And stay consistent with them.
Yeah, and you can't just blindly one day say, well, I expected you to do this, and have the guy say, well, you never told us that. So if you don't tell them, if you don't lay those out, and you can always go back and say, all right, look, we've tried this. We're going to go this route from now on, and this is what I want. And I've done that with just administrative stuff, the sick leave slips. I said, I want them the next day after you're sick, so I don't have to chase down 40 people at the end of the month.
I have no problem with that. I mean,
Yeah. I just don't call in sick.
yeah,
I don't either.
hurts the overtime.
Nice little break, though.
Yeah, but no, everything you've said has been kind of, right along with what I was thinking anyway, as far as, lead by example, be fair,
Right.
set your people up for success, keep an eye on them,
Right.
check in.
And if you, I was kind of tried to go by like the Joe Gibbs model. And he wrote a book, and he said, this is how I do. I put the best people in that position. He said, I'm a football guy. I'm in racing now. He said, but I took the best people for my car chief, for my crew chief, for this, that, the garage, the mechanics, everything. You put the best people in there for that job, and you'll succeed. And if you've got guys, say, are great medics or great EMTs, you want to try to retain them there in that spot. Or you may want them to bring them over to a different station. Hey, I think you'll work with these guys better. You work great now, but I think you'll do even better there. Guys, people will compliment each other. And I say guys, and I mean guys and gals both, so don't get me wrong. It's just the vernacular of it. But
well,
yeah, if you can build your own crews, oh man, you could really.
Well, yeah, but it's exactly like
I would look. My crews would look like Heinz 57. it would, but yeah, you get people and people work well together. Your station's a great example. That whole company just meshes together really well.
To the point we'll send people to the hospital twice.
Yeah.
Just grab assing around. I mean,
I don't know the story.
injuries.
I don't want to know.
but that's
yeah,
you're right.
They were training.
yeah.
we were
Yeah,
training.
and then if you get, I've got examples coming up in my head, but if you've got captains that don't want to be there, they're getting ready to retire, they're taking off a lot, you got kind of a scatterbrained crew that I kind of want to be here just for the paycheck. They don't work well together.
One thing that's lucky with us, and you've probably seen this evolution too, you guys as well with your time, the ambulance is no joke. And that can tear apart a crew.
Yeah.
Just the workload that comes from it if you're not careful. And that's where we're really lucky in our station is just, and you see other crews too, they just buy in. They all take a bite of the shit stick, and it works.
Everybody shares the load.
And it does bring crews even closer too.
Well,
And if you don't have that, because we've got companies that don't share the load like that. Oh, we got a guy detailed in. He's on the ambulance for 24. Guys don't even want to go there and work overtime. Then I hire the chief.
yeah, and I think that's important. That's part of that team mentality, of getting everybody to buy in,
Right.
and say, hey, look, basically, we're a team, we're a family. This is our job. This is what we have to do. And if everybody steps up and performs, then it makes the whole performance better, and everybody's not taking so much on themselves. Many hands make light work.
You said something there. You said family, and that's something that we are a family. And I think part of the, for lack of a better term, the millennial problem, the ones that don't want to come to work, that they're just here for, I don't think they realize that we are a family. And sometimes, some places, they're really not treated it that way either. But you look at the funeral we had the other day, you see how many people were there. It was huge. That guy's been gone for 10 years. And just, yeah. Something happens to someone, it affects other people. And we just try to bring everyone to get in together. We spent a third of our life together. Some of us more.
We got stuff to pay for.
That's right.
Yeah. Jeep parts.
Jeep parts. And taxes.
Well, that goes for everybody. So, but yeah, so I think that does kind of speak a little bit to the changing culture in the fire department. Whereas, even whenever we came on, it was more, everybody hanging out and more of that dynamic of, we are kind of a family. And it seems that maybe has kind of split away. And I was talking to, again, that DSO the other day, and we're talking about how some people they're starting to view this as just a job.
Right.
Like it's okay, well, it's a job. It's not a career to them. Whereas, guys, our generation, yeah, this is what we want to do. This
It's
is
a
our
calling.
career. Yeah.
And if you find something you really enjoy, you'll never work a day in your life because you'll love going to work. You'll love being with your extended family. I've always said, I think one of the most important aspects of fire station life is the cook shack and sitting down and breaking bread together. And it doesn't matter if our companies are in and out, in and out, in and out. We'll eat dinner at 9 o'clock because we all sit down together. And they're always like, we're not going to, lunchtime especially, because a lot of times we'll be out running around or downtown. And they'll call and say, it's almost ready. And I said, well, we're not going to make it. Go ahead and eat. And we'll get back there, and they're waiting on us. And but I think it's important to sit down together. And a lot of people will tell you that, even if it's bad food. Well, you hammer the cook and move on.
But you're doing it as a group, as a unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those
Which sucks for the cook,
sneaky little team building things.
It is.
You know,
It is.
It doesn't all have to be, okay, we're going to go out in the yard and we're going to drill.
Yeah.
And that's how you, no, it's.
But we're going to
it's-
go on a retreat like these big businesses do.
Yeah. No, it's, hey, we're going to sit down together and we're going to eat.
Yeah.
Or, you know, and after dinner, oh, hey, we're going to watch a movie and everybody joins in, or we're going to go have a ping pong tournament, or, you know, it's
Yeah.
those interactions that,
Or even the ones off to, Top Golf, doing some, go play golf together, anything like that.
Taking the Jeeps out.
Yeah. It's, but I think that is one of the most important parts of our job as far as team building and togetherness and being a family. And if you're family, you're going to take care of each other. You're going to see when everybody's doing well. You're going to see everybody at their best and their worst.
yeah,
It's just being there. So that's what it comes down to, is being there for each other and doing what needs to be done.
yeah.
Because if you're there, you're going to respect them, and they're going to respect you, and things get done easier.
And it's
what
so
I
weird, too. We find ourselves telling the new guys, like, if they're busting your balls, it's because they like you.
Yeah.
It is such a polar opposite thought process.
Yeah.
It's, and then you say it's when they stop, you got to be worried.
And you have to balance that too. So one of our line of duty deaths, and got to know this person real well and everything. He was a cool guy, and he passed away in '99 at a fire. And I found that I was ignoring my family. I wanted to spend all my time at the station, and I just wanted to keep busy at work with the guys and this and that. And then, later on, I finally realized, well, I'm neglecting my wife. You have to balance that. You can grieve together, but you need to grieve with your family too, and let your family know that you're there too. You don't want to abandon them. And with John and Larry, I saw that exact thing, the same thing I was doing with a couple other friends, and I stepped in and said something to them. I said, don't ignore your family. I don't know exactly how you feel, but I said, this is exactly the way I was doing when this other line of duty death happened. I said, make sure your kids know you're there. You're there for them and your wife. Don't spend all your time at the station.
Yeah, there has to be a balance between home life and work life.
Yeah. Because that'll eat you up.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for coming by today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. Lots of food for thought. So hope everybody enjoyed today's episode. And like we end every episode, if you're having a problem or you see somebody having a problem, talk to somebody. So take care of yourself.